G'day, everyone. For those who came in late, you're listening to Expand, the Phantom podcast.
500.
Sorry we cut the song short, but this is such a short little podcast. We just want to get straight into it and not waste any time. We are the Chronicle Chamber team. This is Expand, the Phantom podcast. You know all of that stuff. We're not really doing the intro because it's not really an episode. This is just a short little promo episode because we're so excited about the Best of Frew survey that we're launching today. And we just had to talk a bit about Frew very, very quickly. So, guys, thanks for joining me for this quick little promo.
Our pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Okay, so as I said, the Best of Frew survey is being launched today, and it's the link to it's in the show notes. So check that out and have your say on what you thought was the best of Frew in 2021. The results of this are going to be contained in our reflection podcast that we'll release early in January, where we look back at 2021 and cover all of the things worldwide. But the responses to the Frew survey are going to form a big part of the pod there and the information that you are given. So we need to have a quick reminder of what was going on in Frew this year. Jerm, do you want to give us a quick spiel on the highlights as you see them from Frew in 2021?
Okay, so probably the obvious one is probably the trade paperback with the Princess Sin saga, which we saw the original 3 stories from. What were the stories by Norman Walker and George Bess? Then you've got the prequel from Dale McCanty and Jason Paulos, and then you have the news story, which was created especially for this trade paperback by Julie Dietrich and Wendell Cavallanti. Now, so that's probably the most obvious one. It will probably feature very highly in best cover, best story, best issue. But there was 26 other issues as well that was printed and released as well. So some of the ones that probably highlight to me are probably the Vultures saga. Really enjoy the covers, the storyline, learning about the Vultures and stuff like that as well. Then you probably had the story with Matt Kyme, sorry. That's another one of a highlight. The Drummer of Timpani special, and probably the sequel or the final part of Duncan Munro and Jeff Weigel's story as well. They're probably the ones that stand out in my mind as well. So it'll be interesting to hear what you guys think and what our listeners think as well.
What about you, Steve?
I think it's a big call saying that Princess Sin saga is going to rank highly, seeing as it's only just recently been published, in its own form rather than just in a trade paperback. So I'll be interested to see how that goes, Jem. I don't rate it as highly as you would, only because it's was recently in the comics, now in the trade paperback. But I could be wrong.
So just to quickly cut in, is it? And without trying to make this podcast even longer than what it should be, is it the stories that doesn't make it stand out for you, or is it purely the fact that it was recently published, say 3-4 years ago?
The recently published is right up there.
Yeah.
Now I'm calling this year the year of the Vulture. I think we had lots of stories about the Vultures. They've been a great villain, and if they've been the closest thing to a recurring villain in the Phantom stories this year. And so if people have been liking Vulture stories, I expect them to rank highly. I have enjoyed those Vulture stories, so I'd put them up high. It's been great to see so many Aussie creators this year. We've got, I'm just looking at the covers, and of course there's plenty of Australian cover art being done, but Australian created stories such as Duncan Munro written stories, even though that was illustrated by American artist Jeff Weigel, but also the Phantom in Vietnam stories have been an absolute stellar series, and Paul Mason has done a fantastic job on that. So the year of the Vultures, but also the year of the Australian creators here. I expect those two areas of the Phantom to come up highly in our review. Also, was the game actually released this year?
Yes, it was.
Wow, that should be a big tick as well.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have the game as a survey option, unfortunately. It's through merchandise. Maybe we should have a best of Frew merchandise in the survey when it's released. Of course, we've decided that, and certainly not recording this before the survey's been done. So you make a good point, though, Steve. Maybe there does need to be I'm sure the game would win it hands down, so maybe we don't need to include it in the survey either. Who knows? Look, I can't really add much to what you guys have said because you've covered the stories that I really liked. In terms of, I guess another thing about the year of Frew, if we look back, is the range of cover artists that we've seen this year. Again, from all over the world, lots of Aussie creators as well, though. Some of the old favourites and anyone brand new this year? I can't tell just glancing at it. Anthony Spay for the Vulture series may have been from a Frew
perspective, yeah.
So also introducing new artists, which is fantastic. Do you have 2 or 3 each that you guys would think that people should be having a look at just when they're thinking cover of the year?
Cover of the year.
I did like Luca Granger's.
Yeah, I did like Luca Alberto's one for the Triumph, the Phantom of, was it 1776, or which was basically the Independence.
Yeah, issue 1906.
1906. That does stand out. It was a hard act to follow, creating a new cover from such an iconic cover. And Luke has done that twice. He's done it with this one of Don Newton's, and then he's also done it with Hendrik Sellstrom's, which was the famous flag cover as well. So that one stands out. I did like 1889, which was the Orient Express, just the Phantom jumping through the window as well. And then Anthony Spay's kind of like the Two-Face face-off style of the Phantom, and then the Vulture side by side as well. That's pretty iconic as well.
What about yourself, Steve?
My eye keeps being drawn to Granger's there, 1899. But the ones that Jermayn has said are also, it's going to be very tough. I don't think there's a standout. I think it's going to be very, very tight at the top.
That's an interesting point because in previous years there probably has been one that everybody sort of thought was the go. But we don't at this stage have a clear favourite, and it really I think everybody should be going to the survey link and scrolling through and having a look at all the covers themselves, and you can make your own mind up by looking at the year. We'll capture all of the Frew issues in that, and then you can also vote story by story and issue by issue as well as to which was your overall favourite Frew issue of the year. Now, somebody who has contributed early and really, I guess, is part of why we got so excited and we wanted to do this quick little thing is Matt Kyme, who did, I guess, a summer series of podcasts for us last year. We've already talked about him in this little recording about him being a creator for Frew, a cover artist and story, and this year. So he's sent in his thoughts on 3 of his favourite issues. We're going to add it to this and enjoy hearing from Matt what he thinks before you go to as again, I've said it 100 times, but if you go to the show notes and click the survey link, you can go through and choose your own as well. We really look forward to hearing your responses, which, as I said, we'll go back over in the first podcast of 2022.
Hello, everyone. For those who came in late, my name is Matt Kyme, and I'm the author of the Phantom stories A Day at the Races and Diana and the Heartbreakers game. I've been invited by the X-Banders to say a few words about my favourite Phantom comic published by Frew this year. So what was my favourite Frew comic of 2021? What do you think? Can you guess it? How many of you guessed the replica number 27? No. Believe it or not, that wasn't my favourite. In fact, I found it so hard to settle on a favourite, I had to narrow it down to 3 contenders. After reading them all again and picking out the pros and cons of each one, I finally made my decision. I'm going to give an honourable mention to 1893, Triumph of Evil by Joe Gill and Don Newton. This 1975 story from Charlton Comics is an absolute cracker of a story. Don Newton's artwork is as incredible as you'd expect from the man who went on to illustrate Batman over at DC. But it's the story itself by Joe Gill. It's full of Phantom tropes, and it presents us with a gripping retelling of how the 21st Phantom continued on his father's legacy. A really wonderful comic. My second honourable mention is Sandal Singh, Prisoner of the Golden Cage, 1903. This story I thought was an absolute ripper. Written by the late Klaus Ramethi and illustrated by Boy, Ruiz and Martinez, this story dives deep into the backstory and formative years of a young Talia Al Ghul. Sorry, not Talia Al Ghul, Sandal Singh. We see the cruelty of her father Raz Al Ghul, sorry, Dogai Singh, and the distant relationship she had with her mother, contrasted to the friendship she had with Bane, sorry, Bellum, and her nanny Miriam. It's a tragic story and it helps us to get inside Sandal's head. The 20th Phantom is featured in this story and he's brought to life by this creative team perfectly. First, we see his fatherly warmth as he first encounters the young Sandal, and then at the end, he's an absolute boss when he's taking down Ferrati's men. The story ends with an adult Sandal returning to her former golden cage to put her beloved nanny Miriam to rest. What was my favourite Frew comic from 2021? I have to go with Duncan Munro and Jeff Weigel's sensational Rotten Apples through number 1896. I can't say enough about this story. I was thrilled to read it and I read it over and over again. It's such an incredible story. It's a real testament to Duncan, his understanding of the characteristics, the essence of the Phantom character. It is a terrific Phantom story. The scenes that Duncan writes are terrific. Every scene through the whole comic is really, really good. Nothing's out of place. Nothing is unnecessary. Nothing drags on. I'd say the pacing is pitch perfect, and each one of these scenes builds towards a really fantastic, satisfying crescendo. What really brings it home to me is the dialogue that Duncan writes. It's written so well. It flows from the first panel right through to the end. The exchanges between Rex and Randolph in the beginning are razor sharp. Minister Lund, she's used extremely well as a misdirection. The Phantom's quips when dealing with criminals is very reminiscent of Falk's earlier stories. The Phantom was the original smartass, and Duncan has brought this treasured aspect back. The story boasts a number of really good moments. For example, gasp, stop it, I'm drowning here, and my button finger is cramping, we all have problems. That to me, it's a fantastic scene, but that's a really good moment within that scene, a really funny, Phantom-esque scene. There's a few more like that too. The Phantom sending the skull emoji, that's a classic, okay? It was unexpected, it was funny. I never in my wildest dreams would have imagined that I'd see the Phantom send a skull emoji with a little threatening note. Another really good moment I thought was the scene, the whole scene is brilliant when the Phantom is talking to Sheeran. Particularly, obviously, the mad skills bit. That clever little exchange and that playfulness from the Phantom, it's really well written. And again, it speaks volumes about Duncan's ability to understand the character. A few other moments which I thought were really good. When the Phantom is out of clues and he sits and he's waiting on the park bench, waiting for something to happen. That's clever. That whole scene is not boring. Just the Phantom on one page waiting. It was really, really good. On the train, there was two things in one scene which I really liked. The conversation with the local from Barrancon, and also the little interaction with the ticket inspector about Devil. Both really, really funny. But not goofy funny, if you know what I mean. They're put in there to lighten the mood, but it's not silly. I guess I'd say this comic to me was pretty perfect. There wasn't anything in it that I didn't like. As far as the story went, I thought it was really, really good. The only thing that I probably didn't love about it was that the focus of Rex's affections was Alicia. Captain Lara is a badass, and Alicia, not so much. But hey, that's just my opinion. Out of the three, which I narrowed it down to, it was hard to choose a favourite, but this one just shone a little bit brighter than the others. I just thought it was an excellent story. And I look forward to seeing more work from those creators.
Well, thanks very much, guys. We won't waste any more time. Happy fandoming, happy surveying.
He washed ashore the sole survivor of a shipwreck, and upon the skull of the man who killed his dad, he said, "I'm mad, I must eradicate piracy, injustice and cruelty, and all my sons will follow me, so evildoers will believe that this man cannot die." The Phantom, the ghost who walks. The Phantom. Enemies beware, the Phantom's always there, but you won't find the Phantom